proper drainage system. Poor planning, in my opinion.
Yeah, they say the drainage in the city actually dates back to pre-colonial history. But before we get into this conversation, let us love your word, right?
Yes.
We want to say hellos to Evelyn, the entire guys in the back room. We have JB, we have Melvin, and everybody else who makes every sure that everything is working well as remember that we are streaming live on our socials, that is on YouTube, Facebook, X, and also on Instagram. Be sure to join us there as we continue with these conversations. But before we continue, right, let's go to the proverb. The proverb of the week comes from Chad, and Chad is one of the largest countries. Now, it is the 5th largest country in Africa, located in North Central Africa and bordered by Libya, Sudan, Central African Republic, Cameroon, Nigeria, and Niger. Capital city is Jamena, which sits near the border with Cameroon. So let's go to the proverb. A goat that belongs to many people dies of hunger. A goat that belongs to many people dies of hunger. Mulikuwa promised barabara. How would you interpret that?
A goat that belongs to many people dies of hunger. Two things I see. One is that there is the anticipation that this goat is being fed by everyone. And so no one wants to probably take responsibility because you're imagining, you are feeding everyone. So everybody that is benefiting from your feeding process should be feeding you. So no one actually imagines or thinks about, let me now go and feed the goat, because you are thinking, si jo asham feed. Ama pengine de no asham feed. So no one is feeding the goat. The second thing is, of course, the expectation that we all love meat, I suppose. And so when there is a moment of chewing the meat, everybody wants to, to take a piece of this goat, but there is no investment. There is nothing you are giving to the goat to be able to give you the meat that you love. So the goat will just die of hunger.
Yeah, Joe.
Well, I think to me it speaks about sheer lack of responsibility.
Okay.
Where no one is committed. Everybody expects somebody to do the job that is done by nobody. So nothing gets done. It's a clear, description of Kenya.
Yeah.
The goat is our country. We have ministers, CSAs, ministries, agencies. But every other day, whenever we have a challenge, somebody kicks the can down the road. No one says it's my responsibility, I need to deal with this. So nothing gets done, which is very sad.
Monday.
But anyway,
Monday. Yeah, it is a Monday. Anyway, so for those who are asking where Ndu is, Ndu went through a medical emergency on Friday. She's well. She's going to be back here tomorrow. Today she's just taken the time to rest and reset herself. She'll be back here tomorrow. Continue sending your love to her. We shall as well ensure that she gets that. But let's go and say salams to those who are listening to us online. Don Sabwa, Ndu is not here, but I will take that. Aseto, niko salama sana. It's bad, total chaos. Nairobi is not working. Highways work. It is sea pool, sink pool, single pool, and Singapore, etc. All those to describe what Nairobi is. One would say, bang on the money. And Carrier Peter, good morning from Mombasa. Whatever you do today, don't sink anyone's boat. The ocean is wide enough for all of us to sail comfortably. True indeed. Robert Mbogo, good morning from Mombasa. Baria Mombasa, Agutu Ogembo. Good morning, Shibkubwa, tuned in. Karibu sana. We continue with these conversations. And Boaz Nalianya, good morning from Kitale. Wishing you a blessed week, wishing you a blessed one as well. Rahimtullah Omar, good morning from London. My condolences to all those killed by floods and those who lost property. What a terrible weekend. Yes, indeed. That was sad to see, sad to witness. We hope that something will be done once and for all, that we address the problem of drainage in the city. It needs to stop being just talk and promises. We need to see boots on ground to address the problem. Leo, hello Princess Ndu, she's not here, but Ako Salama. Is it incompetence, bad planning, or history lesson we refuse to learn? Every time Nairobi becomes an ocean, it rains and people it rains and people continue to lose their property. Yes, indeed, it is a problem that we continue to see on a daily basis in Nairobi, and we hope that something will finally be done. And good morning. People died in the floods during the weekend. The ruling class continues to... Okay, what's up with his internet today? Yes, and... the ruling class, good morning, Spice Crew. Dennis, and good morning, as always, tuned in from Kendube, Kanyasoro, praying for families who suffered from losses as a result of deluge that engulfed the city. Yes, indeed, we continue to see that. Good morning, Spice family. Deadly floods response wanting poor politicians active 101. Meanwhile, lives, crops are washed away. Please emphasize. Yes, indeed. Good morning, Spice. That is Zach Okok. And happy new week, Minneapolis here. My show is reduced by 1 hour due to spring. Keep it coming. Don't worry. Whichever the case, it will always be uploaded and you will get an opportunity to have the show once you get to revisit it. Good morning, Ndu. And Ndu is not here, but Nico Salama. Nico Radayenu on the way to Eldoret. Say hi to people in Eldoret. When you land there, just say Chamgay and they will respond missing. They're not missing. It's just how they say it. Kisa Daniel, good morning. Good Spice tuned in from Atiaki in Uganda. Good morning to you. Bob Akok, good morning, Spice Crew. Dennis and Ndu, good morning. Good morning to you, as always, tuned in from Kendube, Kanyasoro. Karibu sana. Welcome, Kevin and Joe. That is Rahim Tula Omar. Brian Rono, good morning, folks. Happy week ahead. Happy new week to you as well. Jennifer Etenyi, good morning, Spice team and Spice family. Have a great week. Have a great one, Jennifer. And Bernard Nyaberi. Hi, guys. We had Mount Sakaja and now we have Nairobi. What's Sakaja up to? Because the rains may be heavy and heavier going forward. Question then is, what is the plan with regard to addressing the problem? I saw him in an interview yesterday night, and he spoke in terms of, we know that Nairobi was built on a swamp, right? Now, question is, with that information, what are you doing with it? You know, it is not just enough that you know where Nairobi has been built. Question is, what are you doing with that information? You know, if you fail to act, that is why we see Nairobi being what it is today. And Kimiak, 40 plus dead. No word from national government, not from county government. Not a good morning. Sakaja must make way and float away with mediocrity. Now, that is Opio Polycap. Good morning. Nairobi needs an act instead of skyscrapers. Yo, that was sad to see, man. It was sad to see individuals holding each other and near the expressway trying to cross the road. You look at vehicles floating and one asks the question, even the Met Department spoke about this. They told us it would come. What did we do with that information? I would tell you, whenever I go home, I just saw someone build on top of a drainage and I'm like, yo, where were permits? Because when it was raining, the place where that person constructed that thing he constructed, water doesn't pass. So where does the water go? On the road. I remember on Friday, it took me close to 3 hours to go a distance less than 500 meters.
3 hours.
3 hours.
Wow.
Because you're there. And then we have crazy matatu drivers who are always on a hurry, overlapping. And by that, there's that clogging up of traffic and the mess that was on the road. It's sad, man.
It's sad. It's a it's a continuum of systemic failure we've had over time. Everybody, like we said, everybody expects somebody to do something, and nobody does.
Nobody does anything.
You encroach on this wetland, riparian land, road reserve, waterways. What do you expect? You know, in Kenya? It has to rain heavily twice a year. Twice a year. So if we don't plan well, what are we doing? We keep losing lives recklessly. You know, and then you have all this approving authority. There is no construction site where you not find that signage. You know, there is a contractor, it has been approved, it describes how it's going to happen, change of user from agricultural to, you know, commercial use. We have all these approving agencies, and you wonder, why is it they just don't do the right thing? For how long are we going to have incompetent people in office at the expense of us losing families, losing lives? Seeing people get off a matatu, hold each other, and walk through, and you're almost neck deep, just trying to save their own lives. There is no one in sight, and that should not have happened.
Because aside from Red Cross who were there to offer assistance, and that was, you know, because they're first responders, let's talk about the government's response in terms of saving individuals who are stuck in traffic, in terms of ensuring that they're even clearing traffic for people to get home. And, Pretty much one can't say they can see what the government was doing. Even if it was silent, it hasn't been seen, it hasn't been felt.
No, nothing was done.
It's a sad state of affairs, because remember a few weeks ago we spoke about disaster response and management, and the kind of efforts that are put in just having people attend workshops, meetings, strategic conversations, engagements, doing policy papers that are just somewhere, picking and floundering in dirt and dust and dust, and you also look at the kind of budgets that are put, because some of these functions are county government functions, and for a city like Nairobi, against the agreement between the national government and the county government, really you look at the budgets and the kind of hundreds of millions that are put in, year out. You expect that there is supposed to be certain changes and improvement, and unfortunately it's not
Nothing
forthcoming.
seems to be happening.
It reminds me, Dennis, of Kasarani police station. I one time went there to visit a friend of mine, and as we were walking out, the sewer lines just burst. So people were out there taking photos and sharing. And I just walked over to the head of the station, the OCS, and I was like, so what is this? And they were also just wondering, how do we deal with this? And I called a friend of mine, the Director Environment from Nairobi County, and within an hour, that whole thing was cleared. And as we speak right now, because the conversation went further into looking at the things that you are saying, Mheshimiwa Sakaja, talking about Nairobi having been built on a swamp. But it goes further to also looking at the kind of high-rise buildings that are coming up, the capacity for the dirt that is coming from our houses to be, taken over. And right now, they're actually changing the tunnels. And for those who come from Kasarani, you can see the amount of work just because of one person who decided to, make a voice
to actually
count.
feed the goat.
So exactly to feed the goat. So even as we talk about all these, as citizens, we also have a responsibility.
Yes.
When you take, empty dirt from your car and you're throwing them out there, you take papers from your schools and you're throwing them. Where do you think they're actually landing? So at the tail end of where all this trash is getting, you will see interesting things from, used diapers from homes to everything, and you wonder, don't we have a proper mechanism to do the same? To deal with this kind of waste.
So Rahimtullah Omar, where's Ndu? Ndu is unwell. She's going to be here tomorrow. She's getting better. Linda Agola, bonjour too. Bonjour Mezomi. Where is Ndu? Ndu is going to be here. And Dr. Venve, good morning. Tuned in from Chuda in Mombasa. Erica Ward, good morning guys. Good morning to you. Good morning Aseto, Joe and team. Spies behind the scenes. Good morning to everybody who continue to make this happen. They are the MVPs, actually. Tibbs Muge. Good morning, Spice FM team. The drainage and sewer system needs priority works. Expect an uptake on malaria cases. Yes, indeed. That we expect to go up. And Step Oshina. Roads in Uyoma are the brainchild of Honorable Tuju. Best roads ever, but almost zero utilization apart from the main Ndori to Luanda Kotieno. Uko nuko kina nani kwa kina Kevin. Jose Mahinda, good morning team. Tuko tuned in, and Rogers Lai. Sabal Khairi team, Sabal Khairi. Wish her well, yes indeed. Rahim Omar, get well soon to our dear Ndu. We miss, yes we do miss her. And Likizo B, I hope these rains are a wake-up call for all. Can't spend 2 weeks talking about 10-point agenda when a disaster is looking. We should have spent a week talking disaster preparedness. Yes, indeed. And Driftness Sessions, get well, Ndu, we miss you. You are Mr. Ndu. Edwin, good morning. Tim Spice tuned in from Eldoret City. And Echo Samson, good morning, Dennis Aseto. Glad you are back safe. Yes, happy to be back. I bought a gumboot just in, if you need to know. Joyce, good morning. Wishing the quick recovery. Yes, indeed. Sheila Masasabi, good morning, GSR family, and quick recovery to Ndu. May we all have a better week. Yes, indeed. Musemo Kweli, good morning, great team. It's a impugned killing of our Katiba by judges in high appeal courts, being bribed by regime to allow continuation of illegal government process projects to future verdicts. That is LSK being asked to act. And Geo New Dawn from Singapore to Singapore. Christina A, good morning. I'm glad you're all alive, including all the viewers from Nairobi. Nairobi. Yes, indeed, we're happy that everybody's here. And Abija Johnson, good morning, guys, from Matu, a week with expectation on the progress of the 10-point agenda. Erica Ward, that will actually be given tomorrow, the 10-point agenda. We wait to see that report that will be delivered tomorrow. Who are the guests for today's conversation? I will tell you in a bit. We are lucky Kenya is not prone to earthquake as we have zero disaster management. It will be deadly if there was to be an earthquake. And Vintage Oak, good morning all. We have Lekizo B, so true, a corrupt citizenry is very much to blame for the disasters. We must change or perish. Say hi to Kevin. Kevin Umesalimio. Good morning from Lemur. Does Shah Lipa Pole Pole work? Every time I validate my login details, it takes me on loop. Good morning, Aseto and Team Spice. Good morning to you. Kenya's disaster management team consists of 2 theologians, the librarian, one on the tours and travels, and Singapore Secrets was meritocracy. That is Edda Tattoo, and everybody else who continues to join in. Asanteni Sana from wherever it is you are tuned in from. Good morning and welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. So quickly, let me take you through some of the conversations we will be having this morning. So we do have at 7 a.m. we shall be having Arnold Maliba, who is a political analyst, and Bosco Mutege Kiura, who is a political analyst and governance expert. What are we talking about? Floods and politics, natural disaster, or governance failure? It is the question that we ask. Who exactly is to be blamed at that point? And at 8 a.m., we will be having a conversation with you on Dear Mr. President, our flood experience and what must change. An opportunity for you to talk straight to the president and express yourself on what you have seen happen across the country with the floods and who should take responsibility and how we should all move forward. That is at 8 a.m. And finally, to wrap up our conversation this morning, will be day 10 into the Middle East conflict. Who will blink first? We see the U.S., Israel, and Iran war that continues to be witnessed everywhere else in the Middle East, and that continues to rage as the U.S. DJ Trump has warned that war could actually continue in the next few weeks. Let's take a short commercial break, Evelyn. Is it okay? We take a short commercial break. We will be back with the newspapers in a few. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation at exactly 32 minutes after 6 a.m.
This of a very high-level politician to get to certain offices, that are given very high expectations by citizens. And it really baffles me because these individuals, it is said that they got their passports in record time. But if you imagine some of the suffering that some of our Kenyans have to go through in the waiting of their passports and other critical documents, that really should not happen unless we are saying that there are much more of Kenyans than other Kenyans. Yeah.
I think to the extent that we suspend I think to the extent that we continue to suspend the constitution, impunity will prevail. Unfortunately, we are denting our international image as a country. And there is no day or time, especially under this regime, where we have seen any goodwill from the government to enforce just simple compliance. You remember then the current deputy president running all over to Nyayo House saying, I'm going to streamline the issuance of passports.
But in 14 days.
Little did we know he was going to clear the way for these guys, foreigners, to get their passports. And unfortunately, the story continues on page 5. And there's a paragraph that says, in the case of Algone and Chivayo, the guys, apparently there are others, the document was allegedly issued to enable them to enter other countries, move funds, and even secure residence in Kenya.
Let me tell you what. 13 Sudanese nationals associated with the RSF got Kenyan passports between August 2024 to March 2025. And on the other hand, we have 60 Somali nationals, some with suspected terrorism links, acquired Kenyan national identity cards between 2023 and early 2025. Now, Julius Bitok was Principal Secretary Immigration 2023 to April 2025. So this period that you're talking about, the principal secretary who was moved to education, right, was actually in charge when all this was happening. One asks the question, if he was the implementing officer at that time, Why are we not seeing resignations or people being put on the dock, investigations being taken, and heads being moved?
Good question.
Good question. Now we go to page 2. Flood death toll hits 42 as Nairobi bears the brunt. That is a sad image to see right there. An aerial view of flooding in Nairobi city following heavy downpour last Friday. And why Kenya's rains no longer follow the old predictable calendar. And for decades, many Kenyans could almost predict the weather by memory. The long rains would begin around March. The short rains arrived around October. Farmers planted according to those rhythms. You know what has happened? There is something that I love talking about, which is climate change. Yeah. And it is real. It is real because the normal weather patterns that we're used to stopped being that, because we have messed up the atmosphere so much that Mother Nature is just doing her own thing. Mother Nature as well will never give you warning. She will do as she pleases. Question is, with all this information, then how are we preparing ourselves with the disasters that keep on coming? Because remember, the rains that we see today are extreme. They are more than we've ever had before. When you talk about drought as well, they are extreme. How are we adjusting and adopting ourselves to what we see every day? One would ask, we're planting trees, but how are we again preparing ourselves for the disasters that happen today? So hope fades. So hope fades for family of officers swept away in 2024 city floods. So David Kibet is 33, disappeared in 2024 Muthurwa market floods while rescuing mother and her 3 children. He left behind a wife, 2 children and elderly parents who have struggled to cope with the emotional and financial burden. To talk about that yesterday, the governor was talking about compensation of individuals who went through that. I saw the CS public service Uruku was also speaking in terms of funeral expenses will be taken care of by the government, as well as helping those who are affected get back on their feet. So here we are reacting. One would say, how are we preparing to avoid this? Because if we had put investment into preparing ourselves for this, we would not lose a life. Because fine, you will take care of the funeral, but have lost a loved one. There is a lady who I was seeing yesterday, the relative talking about, at the time at around midnight Friday, she was standing on top of a table and telling the family, like, this water is actually going to take us out. At around 1 a.m., her phone went silent until yesterday, 9 p.m. She had not yet been found. So we still don't know what the death toll would be and if it's going to go high, because there are those who still haven't found their loved ones. It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
It's extremely crazy, and we really have to think through innovations. There are countries in this world that are just looking forward to the kind of water that we have, the floods. You go to Israel and the kind of innovative agriculture that they are doing there in such dry lands, and so the leaders of this country must wake up, rise to the occasion and begin to think outside the box. We keep talking about, now we are talking about floods. The other day we were talking about drought. Is it not possible to even, just channel that water into a corner somewhere and harvest it and use it effectively? Is it not possible to, all these water boozers that we see running left, right, and center, channel that water and carry it and just send it to an area like in northern Kenya where families are struggling with drought and, food and we really do not have to lose lives. I think it's just pure lack of proper leadership and innovation and thought.
Tell you what, I heard the governor speak yesterday. He knows that Nairobi was built on a swamp. That means, even when it rains, especially from Limuru, it's uplands, and the water would always come towards Nairobi as it goes further down, right? So then one would ask the question, have you done mapping to understand when it rains, the route or the path that the water follows? And are you then able to call your civil engineers to design a path that you can direct all this water towards a holding ground? Talk about these dams that you talk about. Can we have a way of even reviving the Nairobi dam that you're talking about and divert all this water there, purify it, and provide water for the people of Nairobi? I mean,
A while ago, we used to have the. You see how I am angry now.
Yeah.
We used to have the Budalangi floods
Yeah.
for a long time, and I think that was when Ababuna Mwamba was impeached during Kibaki's time, and the then government came up with this gully system.
Yeah.
And I think since then we've not had the issue of Serikali
side, yeah.
with intention. These issues can be resolved, because much as we want to argue that Nairobi is built on a swamp, I think there is no greater country that has very befitting topography than Kenya.
Tell me about it.
Nairobi has slopes and slides that allow for water to naturally flow out all the way to Mombasa. Our problem is encroachment. And until we agree to that, we'll keep on just, swirling around the issue. We have encroached on the water paths, on the waterways. The village market, the back part of the village market, I think there is a tribe hotel. It used to be a swamp area. These were the water holding areas where now the flood, after it goes over through the night, what remains, it had places to go, and many other places around Nairobi. If only we can just reclaim back our public land. Each and every spot, whether it's a public toilet, whether it is a road reserve, whether it's a riparian land, these issues will be of the past. And then modern thinking, just employ modern thinking, modern engineering. Let's have a tunnel system. This water just needs to go safely.
Yeah.
We would be having enough drinking water, enough agricultural water in areas where it is needed. And most importantly, we will not need to lose a single life. Somebody needs to take responsibility. And I think people, we need to call them for what they are. They are not leaders. These are our servants. We employ them to do specific tasks. The governor of Nairobi, we employ him to manage Nairobi. Away from the drowning and the loss of life, now there is a looming outbreak.
Burden, yeah.
Yes, outbreak of diseases. And that's going to have a longer term effect. Beyond that, the food contamination. So we have to have this conversation seriously and agree that we as a people bear the responsibility now. An election is coming.
Yeah.
We must have that conversation. Let's not politicize, with these slogans.
Yeah, that we need to.
So it has to be issue-based.
Yeah, let's go quickly on the other stories that we have here. Inside NLC's race to pay billions to firms in questionable land claims. We have women told to save, invest for independence. Yesterday was Day for Women, International Women's Day. We continue to celebrate all the women out there. We see you, we appreciate you, and we love you. Evelyn, Ndu, JB, Mutanu, everybody else, get your flowers this morning. We celebrate you for making actually the backside, man. You guys do a good thing. We celebrate you.
We clap for you, and they said you give to gain.
Yeah.
That was the theme of people's dialogue.
Yeah. So let's just go through the other papers that we have. Osido.
So we have here the Daily Nation. Talks about flood warnings that were ignored, and the death toll from deluge rises to 42. And so there is, of course, issues about audits, and Auditor General Nancy Kadungu, in a 2024 audit following devastating floods, exposed systemic weaknesses, including ignored early warnings from the Kenya Meteorological Department. The report recommended measures to improve the state's emergency response, but as it gathers dust, disaster struck again 2 years later with tragic consequences. Precisely what we are saying, that we have very good plans, nice policies that have been done, but unfortunately, who even cares? And the same story moves over to pages 2 and 3, where we have destruction. The heavy rains have washed away bridges and deposited sediment on roads, rendering them impassable for motorists and pedestrians. Flash floods caused deaths, injuries across the country. So this is there's a photo there of a bridge over the Nairobi River that was swept away by flood waters in the Grogon area of downtown Nairobi yesterday. And the story says that heavy rainfall on Friday destroyed vehicles and businesses in the area, which is widely known for automotive workshops and second-hand spare parts. Is this insured, by the way? So what happens to those vehicles?
No.
Huge losses, right?
Huge losses.
It is huge losses because then, it also depends with the kind of policy that you did take, So unless you took a policy that clearly states that you have insured your vehicle against floods.
And I am hoping that on page 3, CS Ruku says 42 people killed and 50,000 displaced by ongoing floods. And Dennis, I think that's part of where the story around compensation and burial for citizens who have that we lost, etc. And I'm hoping that for those who lost their assets like vehicles, probably they could petition the CS and also ask for, certain payments back or just a mere compensation on some of the losses. Things that should not happen in our country, but it's one of the stories I will be talking about. Page 4 and 5 again of the Daily Nation, we continue with the flood story. So this is called flat-footed. On March 3rd, Kenya Met had warned of heavy rainfall in Nairobi between March 3rd to 9th, but no tangible action was taken. So 42 people have lost their lives so far. Flood warning failures reveal costly inaction. And there's a photo there of one Patrick Kimani Irungu, a worker at Herod Auto Spares in Grogon, Nairobi, who is cleaning up his shop yesterday following heavy rains that have left a trail of destruction. So that's what it is. There is a paragraph there of one gentleman saying, "I'm dying. Flood victims cry for help." So story written by Kevin Cheruiyot. When the rain started on Friday afternoon, no one in Nairobi knew that it would end in deaths, huge losses and destruction. For those whose loved ones were affected, the day began like any other. After their daily businesses, their loved ones waited for the rain to ease so that they could drive home or board matatus to their destinations. Beatrice Tuju, a mother of 4, was one of them. She left home on Friday for work at Grogon along Kirinyaga Road in Nairobi, according to a close friend and neighbor, Miss Lilian Akinyi. They were in constant communication when the rains began, and now Beatrice has been reported missing. In an interview at Nairobi Funeral Home yesterday, Miss Akinyi said that they have been looking for Beatrice since Saturday, but they have not seen her, nor her body anywhere. Miss Akinyi described her last conversation with Beatrice as frantic, as her friend was feeling helpless after being caught up in the floods. And there's a quote there. "I talked with her at 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. She was reachable, and I also communicated with her at 11 p.m. But in our last conversation, while I was calling to check on her, she said she might not make it," Miss Akinyi said. "Our last conversation was at 12, and she told me she was dying. My sister, I'm dying. The water is rising." Those were her last words, Dennis.
Yeah.
Do we have a toll-free number? Do we have an emergency call line? In your interview, you said the governor was speaking. Did he issue any number that people can call?
I know a toll-free line that has been issued by Red Cross. That is there. I think we will look for it and give it to our citizens out there, just in case they want to reach out to know where to go, even for psychosocial support.
Sure.
To know exactly what to do. We shall be sharing that in a few years. Yeah. What do you have there on the Star?
We have the Star. Front page, Kenyan businesses and families to feel heat of Iran-US war. That story continues on page 4 and 5. It's talking about the escalating conflict that has already disrupted oil supplies and trade routes. So I think there will be gains and losses coming from that war. The rerouting of flights could have JKIA become a bit busy. But also, let's remember we have Kenyans who are living in those areas, and so they remit quite a lot.
Yeah.
So with the suspension of services and possible employment, that could be a hit on our economy.
Diaspora remittances.
Yes. Still on the same front page, we have senators alarmed as national debt surpasses 12 trillion. He says senators have warned that the increasing public debt is unsustainable as the Treasury relies heavily on expensive domestic borrowing. A report by the Senate Finance and Budget Committee shows that public and publicly guaranteed debt was 12.3 trillion in December 2025, equivalent to 67.5% of Kenya's GDP. This level of indebtedness is well above the 55% threshold set under the law. The story continues on page 11. On the same, it's about the precarious nature of the budget and our economy, and there are robust measures that needs to be employed lest we find ourselves in a hole that we cannot get out of. It will be interesting to read through that. On page 3 of the Star, we have bank investors are set for huge dividends on growing profit. This is irony. Everybody is complaining about how the economy is not working.
Yeah.
But the banking industry is doing very well.
One positive story there, right?
Yeah.
Somehow.
It's oxymoronic somehow. He says investors in the banking sector are expected to reap a double dividend in the coming week as strong end-of-year earnings trigger a surge in the share prices at the Nairobi Securities Exchange. Market analysts say the anticipated gains will come in two forms. One, capital appreciation from rising share prices, and dividend payouts backed by robust profitability across top lenders. And you know who are the top lenders and top borrowers? It is the government of Kenya. The story about our 12 trillion debt, 65% almost is from the domestic borrowing. And if you look at our country, the 10 best performing companies, 8 of them are the commercial banks.
Wow.
Are you surprised?
So that tells you.
So for the toll-free number is 1199. So that is the Red Cross toll-free number, 1199. 1199. Yes. So in case you need assistance, just call and they will be able to assist. Yes.
1199.
Yes.
1199. Please call if you're in distress or if you know somebody who needs the service. Let's try and save a life.
Sure.
I think on page 3 we have the ARC. It should be Asafina. He says City Hall. It's an ARC that is, is leaking from all. It's just basically what we are talking about. Yeah.
So let's look at a story or two in the dailies. So I want to look at this story on impunity, right? On the passports, and then you guys can pick either that you want to talk about. So we're talking about betraying Kenya. Top officials at the center of RSF. Now, senior government officials under whose watch members of the Sudanese militia and suspected Somali terrorists acquired Kenyan passports and identification cards are walking with their heads high as officials at the immigration department conduct a covert operation to cover their tracks. Now, the Standard has established that the immigration department has embarked on an exercise to clean its trucks and has restricted access to the Kenyan e-passport portal, which is only accessible to a select number of immigration staff. Now, in the process, several passports that were fraudulently issued have been deleted from the system in the past week as efforts to conceal the digital footprints of the vice intensify. However, despite the spirited attempts to conceal crimes and betrayal of the country's sovereignty, the footprints of the leaders are glaring. While all senior government officials, as well as the National Assembly and Senate, have opted to silence in the wake of the damning revelations, the details the Standard accessed reveal the timelines and the approval details for the documents paining senior government officials. Now, it is about brazen issuance where, according to insiders, the brazen issuance of Kenyan passports and IDs was overseen by several officials who gave the process a green light, but it was more prominent during the reign of former Immigration Principal Secretary Julius Bitok and the tenure of Director General of Immigration Services Evelyn Cheluget. Now, not long ago, we investigated and arrested registration of persons officers who were colluding with cartels to issue national identity cards and foreigners and cards to foreigners. Now that is Mohammed Amin, who is the DCI director. I ask the question today. You are employed to do a job,
Right.
If you fail to do that job as expected, say let's speak about the private sector. You fail to do that job as expected of you. What do we expect to happen? What will your boss tell you that morning?
Yeah, you're fired.
You're fired. Ama itakuwaje Osido? Kabisa, you're fired.
Yeah.
But why is it that individuals who've been hired by Kenyans to do this job fail miserably so, but we do not see them get fired. We do not see investigations instituted against them. We do not see them take responsibility for failing to deliver. Instead, what we see, you're transferred
Elsewhere.
to the next office. One asks the question, if today I take poison, I put it in a glass of water, right? And I say, now because it is this glass of water that has poison, let me transfer this poison to a new glass. Does this new glass stop having poison?
No.
In the eyes of this regime, yes.
Wait.
You
But
know,
you get what I mean.
Yeah,
So
all
it is-
factors remaining constant. The poison is there.
is there, right?
Yeah.
So that means we've just transferred a problem from one institution to the other, and you expect that the transfer of this problem to the other institution, that much would happen. Are you surprised why today in the education sector, grade 10 has problems? Why we have ghost institutions? Because the individual who failed to take responsibility in the previous department still will not take responsibility even when failing in the current department there are.
All right.
So that means we're just playing. It's just a vicious cycle. Nothing really is changing.
And that's why in the upcoming election, Kenyans must really be strategic and very clear. I know this is hard politics, and we have tried it in the past. But unfortunately, the choices of the people, the choices that Kenyans make many times do not see light of day, given the manner in which we do our politics. Because these individuals whose names and photos are on our front, the bold Standard newspaper, are civil servants.
Yeah.
And they are appointed. There are processes that we go through, including vetting by members of the National Assembly. These are representatives of the people. At what point do we drop the ball and just imagine that even if you are not competent, you can have your cake and eat it? Ultimately, do we expect anything better? So we really have to rethink, one, how we vote, who we vote for, and also how we hold them accountable. I know that some of these issues have been adjudicated in our courts, but citizens must arise to a level of also filing petitions. The kind of demonstrations that we see happening must be able to push this further, even to Mheshimiwa Julius Bitok in the ministry where he currently is. And
why is
that
he a
transfer,
Mheshimiwa?
Yeah.
well, it's
Why
just
is
a
he-
term that I am using for respect.
We should have time.
If only we had a national assembly,
Yes.
all these issues would be resolved. Because we have committees, that manage such matters. But to be continued.
To be continued. Yes, at exactly 1 minute after 7 a.m. Kenya's biggest conversation will be back in a few. But now it is the news time. Good morning.
4.4 Spice FM. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.